it's Shobo. Welcome to Just Go Places. Today we will talk about flamenco with Trini Martinez, who is not only a great guide in Andalusia, but also a lover of flamenco. So flamenco, a basic, what is it? We know it's a Spanish dance that involves lots of foot stamping and intensity, but why? So let me tell you about Trini Martinez first up. She was our guide in Granada and lives near Malaga. I got chatting with her on our car ride back to Malaga. First up, I learned flamenco is more than music. It's also song and that favorite Gen Z word, an aesthetic. An artistic way to show very intense emotion. Why the intensity? It's talking about the inner life of a misunderstood person. You know, like Morrissey and the Smiths did for me in the 80s.
But heaven knows I'm miserable now.
But flamenco, though, is more than just despair, but also joy and passion. By the way, if you like this video, remember to click like and also to subscribe for more videos on travel and travel-related content. So while in Andalusia, I was lucky enough to see 3 different ways of flamenco dance. First up will be the flamenco dancer with the most beautiful Andalusian horse. Next, a group of professional flamenco dancers in Malaga. And finally, a group of Gitano flamenco dancers in Granada. It's about an introduction to flamenco.
An introduction to flamenco. Okay, well, about flamenco, first of all, we have to say that it's not focusing only in the dance or in the lyrics or in the music. The flamenco, or the name of flamenco, is something that comes from very old days, which is an Arabic word, and it's felah mankub. Felah means like a peasant, like someone coming from a marginated area or whatever, and mankub means exactly that, isolated or marginated. So the thing is that at the very beginning they were not talking about the music, but about the people. Some people who were, let's say in a way, marginated, isolated from the new Christian society, right? So that is the translation of the word flamenco. It's a mix of cultures. It was like by the 15th century. 15th century is an historical moment when in this land we had the end of a Islamic period in the Iberian Peninsula. It wasn't in Spain, not yet. So the thing is that we had here different cultures who were living together. We even had the arrival of a new culture that we know as the gypsies. You know, gypsies, it's a race coming from India, actually. They were coming from a piece of land that nowadays belongs to Pakistan. And it was from there, as nomads, they were living, and then they were just traveling for centuries all over the Middle East countries until reaching, you know, the area of Greece. And then from Greece, they came into the Iberian Peninsula. The only documents we have from then, where it said that they were here, it was on 1432. And the thing is that it was a leader of a family, of a gypsy family, whose name was Juan el Gitano. Gitano, many people thought because he was coming from Egypt, but not from Egypt, the country that we know nowadays, but from an area of Greece called Egyptan or Gitana or something like this, like Egyptian. So this is as well why we call those people gypsies or Gitanos, because they were Gitanos, right? That is one of the cultures. Then the other culture, very, very important, the Jewish. So when you are going to hear some of the lyrics and the way they sing, some of the different styles in the flamenco, we find the same tonality of rhythm and of music than a rabbi, you know, in a synagogue. It's mostly the same, even the same notes, the same tonalities, the same way, right, that you find some of the styles of flamenco. And obviously we had another important culture who were the Moorish and their Arabic sounds, right? So all that together were making the very beginning of the flamenco. Flamenco first as group of people marginated, isolated from the rest of the society, and they were trying to preserve in a way their traditions, their way of living, their way of thinking, their religion, their culture, that because of the new moments, historical moments, they had to forget, right?
So did flamenco start here?
It start here, not in Granada, in Andalusia. We should say these are, some different theories, but mainly they were located in the area that we call the Low Guadalquivir area, which means Cadiz, part of Seville. When we say Cadiz, focusing more in Jerez, where Jerez is known because of the sherry wine, right? Jerez de la Frontera. So there, and then a bit part of Malaga as well. So all that, it was like, if you like to say that it was actually the beginning of this flamenco. But the main reason for that is that Cadiz area, after a couple of centuries, became an important harbor where many ships coming from the other continent, from America, discovered on the 15th century, right? They've been arriving and they were bringing new products we didn't know in this land. But a part of the products that we have, like potato, tomato, and other things, they brought some rhythms from those new lands that they were as well at the same time a mix of locals, natives, but also slaves who were coming first here to Iberian Peninsula from Africa, and then during the beginning, of those trips from the old continent to the new one, they were sent to the America as slaves as well, and they were focusing mainly in República Dominicana, in Cuba. So when these people were living from here and they reached the area of America and they met, people from there, and they were mixing the sounds between what they brought from Andalusia into America and what it was already in those 2-3 countries. So there was another fusion, there was another link between the music from here, the music from there. So that is what we have now as the flamenco we know nowadays, is the influence of many rhythms as well from America. And little by little, we were adopting, other rhythms to the very beginning, which was just a voice, a clapping of hands, and also the sound they make with the feet when they dance. All that, it was the beginning of the flamenco in order to follow the rhythm. But then a little bit of music, a little bit of different instruments, and then the way of dancing, of the African dances coming from Cuba, and then back again into Spain, where we had, the way to adapt those rhythms into new styles. So all this is the flamenco. It's not very easy because actually flamenco is a very alive music and it's a very alive tradition. It's not kind of old tradition that started in the 15th century and is like that all along the centuries without any change. It's not true. The flamenco is still alive, is still adopting and adapting other musics. And the one that we know nowadays is actually the main influence of many of the rhythms that you find it in America, right? So we have different styles of flamenco.
You sing as rock?
We have the new ones, we have rock flamenco, we have hip hop flamenco, we have even reggaeton flamenco, and we have also pop flamenco, right? And we had a very important musician who was playing guitar, a guitar player, and his name was Paco de Lucia. He was from Cadiz area, and he was working with one flamenco singer who is considered, for those who really love flamenco, like the master of this new change of the flamenco into a kind of modern music or rhythms. And his name was Camarón. Camarón, when you say Camarón to anyone who likes flamenco, for sure that they will know him pretty well and they will consider the top, right? So this man, Paco de Lucia, once he was in the 1970s, he was in Peru, right? And he was invited by the consulate there, the ambassador, and then they made a party in the embassy, and they had some musicians from Peru. And the musicians, they were playing kind of a wooden box, that we say in Spanish, cajon, and it was a cajon peruano, and Paco de Lucia, he said, okay, what is that? No, and I find it very interesting. So they told him, well, it's a cajon peruano. So he bought several of them, and he brought it here to Cadiz, where he was living. And they've been adapting that into the flamenco cajon. So now from the 1970s, we've been adding a new instrument in flamenco that it looks like to be something very old, but you see, it was made in the 1970s. So the flamenco as well is a way of living. It's a way of keeping traditions through the lyrics. Lyrics that they are not written anywhere. I mean, it's an information that goes from generation to generation that they will be passing from one family to another until nowadays. It's true that maybe now you can find something, right, because we are in a new century and obviously it's much easier, but it's not the way as they give the information to the rest of the flamenco world. So in that case, it's like to be keeping inside some words that and some expressions that we do not know or we've been forgetting during centuries, but they are keeping in the lyrics of the flamenco. So the flamenco is like a way to keep some of the part of the Andalusian language, if you like to say that, because here, for centuries, we were speaking an Arabic dialect, right? And that's why in Andalusia we speak in such a different way, or such a different accent, no way but accent, if you compare with other regions of Spain. Because our roots are from sounds that are coming from another language, and it's still this inside of the flamenco lyrics. So flamenco is a universe, right? It was talking about the person, this isolated person who looked different, completely different, because it was different outside, like gypsies or slaves, because they had a darker skin, or they were different inside, even though outside you couldn't say this is Jewish or this is Moorish or this is Christian, because they were looking more or less the same. But they were different because they had a different religion, or maybe not religion, but a different way to call God. Some say Yahweh, some say Allah. By the way, you know that when they are singing ole, and they say ole, which is such a Spanish, ole, that is from Allah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Allah, because as I said, many styles of the flamenco, if you compare with the way as a rabbi is singing during a synagogue service, or al-muazzin, the one who goes up to the minaret of the mosques to call the people for the prayer, it sounds exactly the same. Allah, Allah, Allah. So when you are singing, or you listen to some of these singers singing, it's exactly the same. Sometimes they say L, L, it's like a change of the vowel O into a E, but it's the same meaning. They are talking about God. They are praying all the time. It's one of the influences that we have. Right? We do not have to forget, as I said, the roots, the Jewish songs, the Arabic songs, and also the Indian dance. Because when you see a women, men as well, but women dancing, you can recognize some movements that they are really very, very close to Indian dance movements. The only difference is that for that, in India, every time that they do a position with the hands, it means something, has a meaning, but not in the flamenco. Flamenco is just a movement, and it's doing a movement in a very faster way. Not like in the Indian, it's more static. In the India, but the movements of the hands are completely the same.
Thank you, Trini.
Oh, thank you.
The Granada show, which was in the Gitano section of the Rocio. I'll put that information below, as well as the information for Trini Martinez and her tour company. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.